Hey guys, my new Harvestright is here, and if you're new to the channel, this is where it all started for me. About 4 years ago to the day, I was standing here with a new Harvestright. I was doing a review because I couldn't find any information about the Harvestright, so I actually started this channel, Retired at 40, Live Life Simple. And since that first review video, I've done probably over 100 freeze drying videos now. So after 4 years of abuse and punishment, I figured it was time to give my old Harvestright a break, so I bought a new one. So today I'm going to do an unboxing and review of my brand new medium-sized Harvestright freeze dryer. I'm also going to show you how to set it up and put everything together. We'll do an entire cycle. I'll show you how to change the oil, and then we'll also filter the oil so you can get lots and lots and lots of usage out of one little thing of oil. So when I did my first video 4 years ago, I wanted to do one because I wanted to give people an idea of what to expect before they go and spend, $3,000 on a freeze dryer. Mine just came FedEx freight. I would imagine that's what they use for all of them. The delivery was super simple. They delivered it right into my driveway. The guy wheeled it into the garage. So 2 boxes, I would assume one is the pump, one is actually the freeze dryer unit. The delivery was here once it was processed within really a few days. So the only thing separating us from seeing the new Harvestright is just a little bit of tape. So just from opening this first box, I can already tell you there's a ton of stuff that's different from when I ordered mine. So I think I'm actually going to do a separate video on the difference between what you got 4 years ago and what you can expect currently. So this box is actually going to have your vacuum pump, and this is actually going to be the workhorse of the whole system. This is going to be your vacuum hose. This will go in between the freeze dryer and the pump. This is the freeze dryer pillow. It's just kind of an insulated pillow that goes in the window of the freeze dryer. Just keeps the cool and the heat in. Power cord, obviously. Looks like I got some Mylar bags on the house. Compliments of Harvestright, that's cool. And some oxygen absorbers. Those will go in the Mylar bags with your freeze-dried food. Got your manuals and such, literature. Make sure you read up on all this stuff. And then they give you some stainless steel trays. These are food grade trays. Nice and heavy duty quality. Oh, this is new too. It looks like they give you a different impulse sealer, and that's going to be to seal up your Mylar bags that they gave you, as well as an oil filter and a little vacuum pump oil. So we've seen what's in the little box. It's the pump and kind of all the accessories and stuff. But really what you're probably most excited about is to see what the freeze dryer looks like. So let's do the big reveal. There she is. And you'll notice that I chose white this time. And I'm seeing this for the first time just like you are. The first thing I'm noticing about this thing compared to my old one is it's a lot smaller, and in a good way. It's just more compact, same amount of capacity, all that good stuff. But it looks like it's quite a bit, the footprint is quite a bit smaller. Let's cut these bands so we can see what this bad boy looks like. Before we go any further, I've got to do something. Oh yeah, that's much, much better. Okay, so on the unit itself, you're just going to turn this handle this way. That handle not only latches onto here, but as it's turning, it'll pull the door in because this rubber seal is what seals off your vacuum chamber. It keeps it airtight, so the pump can pump all the air and just evacuate the entire chamber. And then this rubber seal will come off. It's meant to come off. And then your tray is inside here. And it will have a connector it's a quick connect, and that will actually come apart real nice and easy. That way you can wash up the tray if you need to, or if you have something else that you need to do inside the chamber. The next thing is you want to make sure that you get your trays in the right way. There's actually a right way and a wrong way, and you can see that these rubber mats right here are actually heat pads. You want those on the top because your trays are going to go right underneath. And before we put those trays in, let's put our seal back on. And that just goes right around that little lip, just like that. Pull a tray out. The tray just goes just like so in there. And then we're gonna take our handy dandy pillow, because that goes right in there. The next thing is on the side of the machine here, you'll see this little valve right here. And this is basically your air shutoff and your water shutoff when you go to drain the pump. You want to pull that out, and there's going to be a little plastic piece that will go on this nipple here. And don't panic if you see some water coming out. I remember from the last time I bought one, the same thing. I'm sure they run a test run at the factory and it's just leftover, so don't panic. After you get your hose hooked up on here, I am not seeing mine, I'm not sure where it's at, I'm sure it's around somewhere. You're gonna wanna turn the machine around, and you're gonna notice three things down here. You're gonna notice an on-off switch, an outlet, and then an inlet for a power supply. That's where your plug is gonna go. It's gonna go right into this power supply. And with any luck, your screen's gonna turn on, and it's gonna be right on your home page. It's gonna say customize start. Now we're gonna go to the other side of the machine. We're gonna take this little rubber piece off of here. There's gonna be a fitting, and that's where your hose, this is your vacuum hose, that's where this is gonna come in. Both of these connectors are the same, so one is gonna go on here, just hand tight, and the other end is gonna go into the vacuum pump. And you can see that I opted for the Premier pump. And I'll go ahead and do an entire separate video on the review of this once I get it up and running. The Premier pump is an upgrade. It's a little bit quieter. I think it's a little bit more efficient. Has some other benefits, but it is an oiled pump. So whichever pump you end up with, you want the pump to be to the side. You want your pump to be on the right side of the freeze dryer. Your other end of this hose is actually going to go in the other brass fitting. Just like that. Once again, just hand tight. And then our plug is going to go into that other outlet on the back of the freeze dryer. Right there. And before we fill this up with oil, I'm just going to show you a couple things on the pump that you'll need to know. This one has a window on the front, and that's going to show you your oil level to make sure that you have the correct oil level. It is in a little bit different spot, I think, in the other pump. They will also both have a demister, which is this one on the Premier pump. And basically what that does is when the pump gets too much pressure or it gets too warm, it kind of just mists off a little bit of extra oil. And then there's an oil drain plug here, but we'll get more into that when we change the oil. So let's get this thing filled up, and then I think we'll be ready to freeze dry. So on the Premier pump, this thing just screws off. And I really like to have a funnel just to keep the whole process easy. So the Premier pump, it looks like it maybe takes a special kind of oil, but we're gonna watch that indicator window in the front until we are right where we want to be. All right, so we're right where we want to be on the Premier pump. It's halfway in between minimum and maximum. So we're going to screw our demister back on. On the Premier pump, it is not recommended to use Dairyland, which I have kind of promoted in the past. It's been a good oil. It says do not use it on the Premier pump. But the biggest, hugest advantage to this pump now, as opposed to when I started doing this, is as long as the oil stays clear in this little window, you can get away with not changing the oil for 20 to 30 batches. It used to be every single batch, which was super annoying. This is freaking awesome. Couple more things before we get it started. If you have the Premier pump, it has a gas ballast valve. I'm not sure if the other pump does. You want to make sure that it's on the open position, and then we're going to make sure that the pump is turned on. So we should be ready to do a bread run, and what a bread run is going to do is just get a lot of the odors and stuff, just the newness out of the machine. So just get yourself a cheap loaf of bread, fill up your trays with bread, and then give it a squirt with some vinegar water. And I really like vinegar just for a lot of things, just for cleaning the machine. You're not supposed to use any kind of abrasive chemicals or anything, especially on this plastic door, because it'll actually scratch it. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Shut the door, go to start, go to not frozen, and we're gonna close this drain valve, which is right here. We're gonna click continue. And we're freezing. So your machine's gonna go through 3 cycles. It's gonna go through freezing, and then it will go through drying, and then it's gonna go to a final dry. And depending on a whole lot of different things will depend on your cycle times. The only one that you can actually control is the final dry time. You can adjust that up or down. I believe the default is 10 hours, so you can make it less or more depending on your moisture content of your food. So you can see I'm sitting right next to the machine. Here's my microphone, so it's picking up all of the noise in the machine too. It's not loud. It does get a little bit louder once the pump kicks on. The Premier pump is a little bit quieter than the normal oiled pump that comes with. Compared to the old pump that I used to have, there's no comparison, but I'll give you a sample of that once it starts to run. I would compare the noise to a refrigerator. It has that same compressor type sound. So I would assume if you're watching this video, you're probably new to this channel and new to freeze drying, and you're considering a purchase of a freeze dryer. So a little less than a year ago, I started a Facebook group for freeze drying. It's full of members that just share recipes, they share their experiences, they share their successes, they share their failures, and it's a big help. Even if you're not a freeze dryer owner yet, it'll just give you an idea of whether freeze drying is for you. And best of all, we have free giveaways. So take a minute to sign up for that. I'll put a link down in the description. Also click subscribe to this channel. We do some freeze drying, we do some self-sustained living, and you get to join me and my family in our retirement at the age of 40. And if you don't mind just gently pressing that like button, it just really helps out with the YouTube algorithm, helps these videos get out to the people who want to see them. So we're gonna let the freeze dryer do its work here, and I will catch up with you in a second. All right, it's been 45 minutes now and the vacuum pump just kicked on. So I've got the boom mic on the camera so I can get the best audio of it, but it's crazy. This thing is super quiet. Even compared to my oilless pump, this is really quiet. I'm really impressed with this thing. I was not expecting it to be this quiet. This far exceeds my expectations. Way to go, Harvestright, you nailed it on this. One of the biggest complaints is the noise from me and from lots of people. Anyone that's in a small apartment or somewhere where they're concerned about noise, the Premier pump is just, it's super quiet. Bam, and that's it. 8 hours and 9 minutes for the bread cycle. So a good habit to get into is to actually drain your drain valve before you respond to the screen up there. The screen is going to ask you whether you want to warm the trays, no defrost, more dry time, defrost. So this just lets all the air out of the vacuum chamber. Once that's done, we can check and see what's inside. And the reason I like to do that before I respond to the screen is because stuff's not always done. If you get something that's not done, you can just add more dry time right away. You don't have to respond before you have to. But there's our bread. It's really nice and dry. Ideally, it's all free of any kind of odors or just gets the newness out of the machine. So if you look in the side of the chamber, you can see those are your ice crystals on the side. That's all of your water that came out of your food. There's obviously not a lot of water in bread, so you're not gonna have a whole lot. So we're done here, so I can go ahead and either hit no defrost or defrost. I usually just hit no defrost because the defrost takes more power. So once that ice dries, it's gonna come out of this hose right here. I usually put a bucket or something for the water to go into. So at this point, I would be ready to package my food, and then if my pump needed an oil change, then I would do the oil change while the oil is hot. So if I had just taken food out of the freeze dryer, I would make sure it's dry, obviously. I would put it into the Mylar bag. I would add an oxygen absorber or two, and then you just use the included sealer. You push it down until the light goes off. It'll give you a nice seal across your Mylar bag, and you're good to go for 20 plus years. And all this stuff comes with it, so you're good to go for, I don't know, 10, 20 batches. The very last thing I want to cover while the oil is hot is how to change this oil and how to filter it. When it comes time to change the oil, you want to do this while it's hot because it's going to get all of the gunk and junk that's at the bottom of here, and when the oil is hot, it flows a lot nicer. So all you need to do to change this oil is you need to open this drain plug. It's going to let all that oil come out. You want to keep draining it until there is absolutely no oil coming out. You want to get all of it out that you can. It's going to go directly into this filter that Harvestright gives you. It will filter through these papers right here. It'll separate all of your water and your junk that was that's in the oil. So the oil will start out real nasty looking up top here, go through this filter system, and then when it gets to the bottom, it's going to look just how it did when it was new. And then you can of course use that used oil that's been filtered. You just put it right back in the machine again, and it's good for another 20 to 30 batches. I can't express to you how much this new pump has changed the oiled pump scenario. That used to be one of my biggest gripes on the old machine, was that you had to change the oil every time. That added on to the quietness of this new pump is huge. So to sum it up for you guys, I've been freeze drying for 4 years now. I've done lots and lots and lots. I mean, just countless batches of freeze drying. I've had tons of experience. I have pretty much nothing but good things to say about the freeze dryer. The machine itself is very well made. The fit and finish is really well done. Harvestright's customer service has always been really good to me. And one of the things that no one really talks about is that Harvestright just keeps improving, and they keep fixing problems, and they keep making the machines better and better, even though they really don't have to. They have zero competition in this market, but they really want their customers to be happy with their product and have a good experience. So with that said, guys, thanks for joining me today. I hope I answered all of your questions and helped you with this journey. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, or you can join the Facebook page and post a question that you have. In the meantime, this is Retired at 40. Remember to live life simple, and we'll catch you next week.